A tangle, a tangled web inside my mind.
I think, not I think, I know that
If all
I
of
have a vision because
my hopes
I was
and
born with
fears
one.
are
And
left
all
behind.
of the trauma and the distractions of
Who
this
am
world were to blind me, were to create this like fog and this haze over the lens of how I see myself so that I couldn't see the vision. It was always there.
Who am
And there's a book that I read in the ninth grade, the autobiography of Malcolm X, with Alex Haley. And Malcolm X describes
And I
in
wish
that
that
book
you
when he was in prison, before he learned how to read, he would have visions of himself speaking in front of large crowds, speaking, orating, but he couldn't even read. And and so with that show, like he gave himself permission to visualize himself as something greater. Now here he was in jail, in prison, illiterate. And so I think that I would, I felt like there was always something more for me. And I couldn't see it, even when I decided to go to school.
Who am I?
Greetings. Welcome to Forget Everything You Think You Know. I'm your host, Monique Ruffin, and I'm so excited to be here for the Aries new moon, which is the culmination of a new beginning. It's a time when we're really clear that the things that we are letting go of are complete and done. The Aries new moon is the universe's signal for beginnings. Aries is the constellation in our astrological pantheon, zodiac, that is beginning. It is the archetype of the warrior or the soldier. Aries in the astrology is the baby. So there is this very sort of impulsive, reactive, warrior type of energy that is often felt when we encounter people who are Aries. But it plays out differently with everyone because we're all unique and we all have a different path and we all are here to learn different lessons. So it is the Aries energy that allows us to bring ourselves back to life. Aries always coincides with the season of spring. And depending on where you are in the world, if you're in the west or the northern hemisphere, spring is when we witness all of the plant life coming back, when we witness the animals and the creepy crawlies dancing with life again, where all of the flowers begin to bloom. And one of my favorite things is watching trees that have blossoms bloom all around Los Angeles, California. Um, Aries energy is also associated with a great deal of anger and rage and frustration. And if you consider what it means to be a baby, to not have access to all your power yet, to be unable to walk or unable to speak or unable to feel understood, oftentimes that is associated with Aries because like I said, it is the baby of the zodiac. So this Aryan energy can bring up for many of us who are not Aries, anger and rage because we are having to deal with new energy that we haven't yet integrated in a way that makes sense for us. So it is at the time of spring that many of us might feel really open-hearted and free-spirited, and love might come again because Aries is the energy that is opposite Libra, which is about relationships and romance. But there are those of us who are facing aspects of ourselves that are outdated, that need to die, that need to really, that need our attention in deeper ways than we might recognize. And so it is this Aries sun that will bring anger up inside of us. I know for myself, I'm experiencing a great deal of anger and frustration and confusion, but because I understand the astrology, I'm aware of it. I'm not creating stories about it that are incapacitating. And I'm allowing myself to do the healing and the transmuting and the alchemizing of the energy from my childhood, because Aries takes us back to our childhood patterns, to the very beginning. So just look at your life right now and see what's coming up for you. See what childhood patterns are coming up. Maybe you're a child who felt really loved and praised and seen, so that's present for you. Or maybe you're a child that felt like you were isolated and you didn't belong, and maybe you felt neglected as a child, and those sensations are coming up. Whatever it is, just allow yourself to feel it. Allow yourself to nurture yourself, to care for yourself in ways that you would a baby, because Aries is the baby inside of all of us. The beautiful thing about astrology is that it reminds me that we are all things at all times. And so we never want to neglect any part of ourselves, especially the baby within us. I'm so grateful to have my guest, Saniyyah Sahar Griffin, with us today. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, Monique.
Girl, let me tell you, you are my most favorite Aries.
I love it. I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. All your other Aries friends are not going to be too happy to hear that,
That's
but
okay.
I'll take it.
They can get over it. They can get over it. And here's the thing, right? I have known you about 4 or 5 years now, maybe.
That's right. I believe I met you when I moved, right when I moved back, 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So yeah, 5 years now.
That's right. And you had just returned to LA. You had been here a very short time. And the thing that I noticed about you right away was you had this essence, this godliness about you. You had this sincerity, this heart that felt so pure. And every time I saw you, I would think, oh, this woman is really special. She's really special. So I know that I've always said that to you every time I see
You
you.
said that to me. You said it to me the very first time we met. And you were intentional about what you saw, and it wasn't in a creepy or, romantic way. It was very much in it. I see you. And even if you don't see yourself right now, I see you. And at that moment, we became instant friends. And I'm so grateful because you've seen the growth over the last 5 years. But I'm not going to get ahead of myself. Let me let you guide this conversation.
Yes. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And thank you. So, first of all, tell our listeners who you are and what you do. Tell them about your work.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Certainly. So my name is Saniyyah Sahar Griffin. I'm from Los Angeles originally. I was raised here and lived in Atlanta and New York and had been gone for almost 20 years. So I made my return to Los Angeles in 2016 and began my career as a natural hair stylist. So I am now, after 5 years, a highly sought after, I guess they say, celebrity natural hair stylist. I am a healer, and I work with my hands to heal crowns. And I am most recently adding some additional training to my work, and that is to be a mental health first aider for my clients. I touch somewhere between 80 to 100 Black people a month. And I know that that is an amazing opportunity to be more of a help for my clients, not just pretty hair or temporary pretty styles, but using this practice as a gateway to mental health hygiene.
Wow. What an incredible offering. And I can say, because I've sat in your seat many times and had your care to my hair and to my life and all of that. And what you're becoming, what is unfolding makes complete sense because I saw it the first time I laid eyes on you. I saw it. So, blessings to all the people that are going to be witnessed by you. Blessings that you have said yes to your gift. You are tremendously gifted. And thank you for being here today.
Thank you,
So,
Monique, for seeing me and inviting me.
of course, of course. So let's talk about this Aries energy because you are Aries like none other. And the thing that I appreciate about you, so you have the sun in Aries, which is your personality, this ability to be able to regenerate yourself over and over again.
Mm.
Right,
I
exactly.
didn't realize that, but that's what this life has looked like.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
over and over again.
That's
Mm-hmm.
right. You can start over. I've seen you do it. I have seen you start over and show up in these ways that I'm like, wow, this woman, you take the bull by the horns every single time. So you have the sun in Aries, your personality. Then you have Mercury, your mind, which and your Mercury in Aries is like somebody who is a go-getter, someone who's not
Mm-hmm.
waiting for opportunities, someone who makes the opportunities, someone who's like
Mm-hmm.
going to create their path, right? And then you also have Venus in Aries, your heart, how you love, your emotions, how you feel, right? So let's talk about all of these aspects of Aries and how you live with them, how they show up for you. So tell me about your ability to be able to regenerate, to start over again and again and again, and without giving up. How do you do that, Sanniyah?
Monique, I ran from the childhood that taught me how to do that. So it was a pain point for me because by the time I entered high school, which is about 14 years old, I had been to 9 different schools. I was the new girl 9 different times. And what that taught me early on was how to begin again. And it was oftentimes sad because I would make these friends and latch on to my new best friend, and all the listeners remember being the new girl, the new guy in school, the new person, and how awkward that felt. Um, and so because I had to exercise that starting over muscle so much as a young child, when I became an adult, it just was second nature. But then to a fault, I would shut down something real quick and say goodbye, start over, like whatever, I'll find a new job. I quit jobs the day of, like all kinds of crazy things. And so I had to learn when to start again, but also there's this fire inside of me that won't give up. And I wish I could write the recipe for what that looks like, but I can't. It's just, there are times that I wanted to give up or that I felt I made a hasty decision and like, oh my gosh, now I've got to see this through. But I will tell you, starting over, I know that things are going to always work out for me. I just kind of operate in that flow, that all things are working out for me. And no matter how tough it's going to get, there's going to be an after it gets tough. And so I just put on my big girl panties and say, here we go. Another start. Let's go. Another race, another marathon, another opportunity.
Wow. That is the true energy of the warrior. It's just like we're going to get on the other side of this. We're going to move through this challenging part and then we're going to get to the other side of it. The reason that I created this podcast and named it Forget
Okay.
Everything You Think You Know is because it's
Mm-hmm.
my intention to have conversations with Black people that
Okay.
allow us to see who we really are in a country, in a culture that tries to vampire us and take everything we have, and in a culture that doesn't glorify us for what we've actually done, which is built this nation. We built it.
That's right.
Right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
my intention is to show us how resilient we are, to show us how necessary we are,
Yes.
and to show us how magical we are. And this
Yes.
thing that I just hear you saying around this ability to be able to show up again and again and again in a new scenario with a new mind and a willingness, not holding on to old stuff, because I'm sure in your new experiences you could look back and go, well, that happened last time. But I don't hear you say that. I hear you like, I'm at the beginning again. So there's something significant about being able to let the past go.
Yes. Yes.
Talk
And
to
this,
me about that.
okay, I will start with me returning to Los Angeles,
Mm-hmm.
because LA, of course, like I said earlier, this is where I was raised. This is where, many of my early childhood development and ideas about the world and relationship to others and how I see myself started here. But it was with a lot of trauma, a lot of traumatic experiences that I had normalized. And when I moved to Atlanta, and became a woman there, I began to realize, oh, those experiences were not normal, And so I remember thinking I was just damaged goods. And like, because of those things that happened, I was just going to be, you know, not good enough. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And when I moved back to LA, it wasn't because I wanted to, it was because I had to. I found myself in a new career, living in New York City. A 5-year relationship had just come to an end. So my heart was broken. My spirit was broken. I was wondering if I had made the right decision going into cosmetology. But I had a vision around what I wanted to do in hair.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked my mother if she could pay my rent for me. I'll never forget it. This was like March 2016. And she said, no, Sanniyah, I can't, but I can buy you a one-way ticket home. It's time to come back to Los Angeles. And I'm like, no, that's not the answer. And I came back kicking and screaming. But I had to come back to Los Angeles so that I could heal all of those things that I was running from. Most importantly, the relationship with my mother. And in turn, the relationship with myself. So what I found myself doing over the last 5 years is revisiting that little girl that's always been inside of me. But she was just kind of sitting there like this. And she would act out, when those relationships would fall apart, or friendships fell apart, or I felt like I wasn't being seen or accepted in these new friendship circles that I was trying to create here in Los Angeles. And I would just resort right back to that little girl self who found peace in isolation. I would just find a book in a corner or somewhere outside in the grass, and that was my respite. And I began to find myself falling back into that pattern. And thank you, Monique, for a reading you did for me maybe 4 years ago. And I just asked, like, how can I stop this cycle of, attracting these same relationships and falling back into that same shameful way of thinking about who I am as it related to my past? Mm-hmm. And you told me, Saniyyah, your chart says right here, I'm not making this up, for the next 10 years, you will be healing. Because I have been looking at this word healing as this fixed thing that you did, mm-hmm. right? Like you get a cut, it heals, and now it's done, right? I didn't look at it as this moving thing. Mm-hmm. It's not, when I get my new apartment, now I'm done with that portion of healing. No, it goes deeper and deeper. And now I can revisit some of those things that felt icky because I've got a support squad. I've got a team of people who love me and are helping hold space for me as I heal. And so that return again back to LA was pivotal. It was almost like a rubber band that you got to kind of pull back, right?
Yeah.
You got to pull it way back so it can shoot forward. And so I like to describe my return home as that. I didn't see why I was being pulled back, but it was so that I could be propelled forward. And now I've got a new client wait list. I can't even accept new clients. 60 people every day, 3-4 new people sign up to sit in my chair with no promise of when the books will open again. But what I've come to learn is that this energy that God, the creator, the divine, the universe, this spirit returned here to do some very powerful work. And I am having to continue to uncover these layers. I've even had to go back and learn what my soul came here to do, 200 years ago. And so it's all connected. And honoring my ancestors, really getting in communion and listening, finding out where in my body my intuition was. Also, Monique, something that's been really huge for me is when body pain comes up, not looking at it as isolation, like, oh, my back, I need to go see the chiropractor. No, my body's talking to me. My body's telling me to process through some emotion, to pay attention to something in my life that I'm trying to hide or not uncover. And so that's what this healing journey has been for me. And I know I'm going to be on it for another 5 years, longer than that. But the biggest thing that I want to say in relation to healing and mental health and going to therapy is that healing is possible. I wasn't damaged goods. I wasn't some broken vase that needed to be discarded. Healing is possible. And when I get into my story and the things that I've been through at a later date, when I write the book, you'll say, oh my gosh, Sanniyah, you made it through that. So that warrior spirit that you see is because I know that the vision I see of my healed self conjuring and doing all this work with this gray hair. I know that this work I'm doing now is just the bridge that I'm traveling to meet her. And yeah, I don't even remember the initial question. I hope I answered it.
You totally answered it. And you said something within it that really stands out. You said you had a vision. I don't want to cry on here because the listeners are right, because it feels like we're just having a conversation, the two of us. You said you had a vision. Please talk to me about what you mean, because there's a Bible scripture that says without a vision, the people will perish. So
absolutely.
Tell me why you have a vision. Why?
I know that I have a vision because I was born with one, and all of the trauma and the distractions of this world were to blind me, were to create this like fog and this haze over the lens of how I see myself so that I couldn't see the vision. It was always there. And there's a book that I read in the 9th grade, The Autobiography of Malcolm X, by Alex Haley. And Malcolm X describes in that book when he was in prison, before he learned how to read, he would have visions of himself speaking in front of large crowds, speaking, orating, but he couldn't even read. And that, and so with that, like he gave himself permission to visualize himself as something greater. Now here he was in jail, in prison, illiterate. And so I think that I felt like there was always something more for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't see it. Even when I decided to go to school, I knew that there was some gifts in me. You know, I quit this great paying job in corporate. I always wanted to be the corporate girl. I was going to work. I was going to be the VP of marketing. I was going to have the big office in the corner and, you know, travel and tell people what to do and do all these big plans. And as I started to work up the ladder, I realized I was having to become someone I wasn't, because I'm this very giving, open, authentic, you know, sweet woman. And I was just getting torn to pieces in the corporate world.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started doing hair, it was because of those conversations that I was having with Black women around the country around their hair, and the tears that would fall because of how they felt judged by wearing their hair the way it naturally grows out the scalp. What's my father going to think? What is my children going to say? What's my husband going to say? What's my employer going to say? I knew that there was deeper work that had to be done, and it wasn't just about buying a product.
Mm-hmm.
There was a psychological conversation, and that vision for me was me helping. And I didn't see what that would look like. And here it is. I came back to LA, and now I'm, you know, helping celebrities to feel confident on screen so that they're not having to wear these weaves and wigs and, you know, be treated with disrespect and then being told that they're difficult because they're advocating for themselves and for the health of their hair. So now they get blacklisted from Hollywood. So now they can't even do the thing that they love to do. It's deep. And the vision for me was to be a help. And as I keep going deeper and deeper, I see that it's not something that anyone can teach me. It's me trusting what is coming up for me. It's trusting the visions. It's trusting what I'm hearing about hair and what I'm hearing about this healing work. That is a big piece for me, is trusting what I'm hearing, trusting what's coming out through my writing, trusting what I'm hearing when I'm touching heads. And how did I know that there was a vision? How that when I close my eyes and I visualize myself in the future, and she scares me, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's doing that. Nope, let me hold tight to that vision. And
wow, that's beautiful. I hear you, because I want you to know that, you know, I'm a coach and I'm an astrologer, and I talk to people who, when they close their eyes, they don't have anything. They don't have a vision. And I do work to support them in beginning to cultivate a vision. So to have a vision is a divine gift. And when I say this to you, I'm just saying it because I, like you, grew up in Los Angeles. I grew up adjacent to Hollywood. I grew up hearing all of the stories about how challenging it is to be a Black person in that industry. And so to now hear you saying that you are coming to help Black people embody their true nature as actresses, as artists, and really allow their hair to grow out of their head, it's a gift. That is beautiful.
yes,
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you. I want to say something to the listeners who don't have a vision right now. I remember feeling that way. I would see people with these natural gifts to sing and take pictures and create art, or educate or be a scholar. And when I graduated from cosmetology school, I struggled telling people I was a hairstylist. You know, I didn't feel good enough. I would always say, I don't know what I'm going to be. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I was like a hummingbird. I worked at Starbucks. I worked at restaurants, waitressing, bartending, cleaning, managing properties. Like, I did so many different things. And I didn't always have this vision. So know that you just keep moving. You pick up pieces along the way. Every job, every experience, every opportunity, you're learning more about yourself. Hopefully you're looking at the astrology, and I wish I had that tool to kind of help me make sense of what was happening. But don't give up on yourself or think you're broken if right now you like, I don't see a vision. Keep living. That's what I've been saying. Keep living.
Yes.
But I had to start my healing work for that vision to become more refined.
Come on now.
Okay.
Yes.
The vision is always there, but sometimes we believe that vision is too big for what we see in our lives at present. So if I had looked at my vision and said, oh, that's crazy, because look at where I came from. I grew up in poverty. We couldn't even find food sometimes, right? But this vision shows me that I'm wealthy, abundant, and speaking in front of large crowds like Malcolm X. But that vision would scare me. And so I would cower and small myself because I hadn't yet learned how to clean that lens like a windshield wiper. I had to clean the lens and how I view myself. So if there are times that you don't feel that you see a vision for your life, keep living, because you have to start that healing journey. And as you move in that healing journey, like a windshield wiper on a dirty window, that vision will become more and more clear. Because what happens is you start believing in yourself more. You start believing in that vision more and more as that windshield wiper starts to cleanse away all of the things you told yourself you couldn't do and achieve because of the traumatic experiences, or because of your, maybe it wasn't trauma. Maybe you were given everything and never had the opportunity to learn it for yourself. Maybe your mother did your homework for you all the time. You never had an opportunity to struggle and to figure it out for yourself. So I get what those two, opposing things look like. But at the end of the day, trust that there is a vision inside of you. And the more that you focus on creating this relationship with yourself that is not connected to what everybody else is going to think or say about your decisions, that vision will become crystallized. And I'm speaking from experience.
Ashe. So you also, first of all, thank you. That was amazing. And I really trust that the listeners will take that in a very dynamic way. One of the most incredible things about you also is that you have Venus. Venus is how we love in Aries. And Venus,
okay,
so that's like the warriors, like the warrior's love. It's like, and I have watched you in your romantic life. So I just and because you have Venus in Aries, I have watched how significant love is to you. You are a lover.
Yes, I am.
You are a lover. You really are. Please.
That's another thing I'll start over at a heartbeat and don't care. Okay. I will give another shot to love. Okay. I sure enough will.
Please, because so many people have challenging experiences in love and then they give up and they quit and they hide. Talk about that a little bit, because we need that. We need the thing I see in you, because you're like, okay, I'm gonna love again. Please share.
I have never, ever, ever been asked this question or given an opportunity to become introspective about this, besides in my therapy sessions. But I love that is a positive, right? Because that's something that people like to look at as a negative thing. Like, girl, you just got out of a relationship. Give yourself some time. I get that. That's very well and true. But that time can sometimes become this hardened defense mechanism where we don't even allow anyone in. And then it starts to spill over into our friendships and into our familial relationships. So I've never wanted to become so hardened that I was this bitter, angry, like that vision of this bitter old hag that lived by herself, that just yelled at the kids to get off her yard. Like,
Yes.
And so man, yeah, I got married really young. I was 20 when I got married, and um, we broke up. We divorced 3 years later, and I spent a long time alone between before I got, in relationships again. Wow. I am a lover. I've always been just a lover of people, male, female, doesn't matter. Since I was a kid. And sometimes I would not really be discerning around who I could show that level of affection toward, because sometimes people see it, and then when it comes to an end, they are in pain and don't know how to deal with that. So I've been stalked, and some of those things turn negative. So I've had to really, again, through this healing work, be able to be clear about who I enter into romantic relationships with, because this love is warrior style. It is powerful, and folks get hooked, girl.
Come on now. I know they do. Because you ain't no joke. But that's the thing that is very significant about the Aries energy. The Aries energy is the warrior. And what does a warrior have? A warrior has courage. And you are full of courage.
Mm-hmm.
You are full.
Yeah. Wow.
And I
Wow.
want the listeners, because the thing about astrology is that everybody has a little bit of everything, right? So you have all of this Aryan energy in your personality and in your heart and your mind, the way you think, Mercury and Venus, but everybody has a little bit of everything. And so we can learn from everyone. You don't have to be an Aries to have courage. You don't have to be an Aries to be a warrior. You don't have to be an Aries to be somebody who can begin again and be willing to start over. You don't have to have Venus in Aries to be someone who's willing to love, even though you've had disappointments in love, right? You don't.
That's right. That's right.
You are the model of it. Because this is the way your soul created you and the way God made you. So we get to look at you and say, oh, okay, I see this. Somebody who can fall down and get back up and do it better, who doesn't fall down and go, oh, I hurt myself, I'm gonna go away. No, you're like, I hurt myself. Let me see what I did so that I don't have to hurt myself next time.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I read somewhere that, relationships are the roads we travel on this journey of life. And so I think in that, having to make new friends all the time, I've learned that each relationship, I'm going to walk away having gained some valuable insight into who I am and how I relate to others. And it's been refining those foundational things that I know my partner has to have for us to be compatible, right? And I'm just like a hopeless romantic. I know I'm gonna find my person, and I'm not afraid to, taste this, try that. And now I've strengthened my voice so that I can say, oh, this was great, but it's not working. Because before I would let things just linger. Give yourself, we're here to live. We're here to experience. We're here to bounce off of each other and enjoy one another. And we can't do that being afraid and it's like you just bringing all your energy into itself, and it doesn't have anything to do. It's got to express itself.
Yes.
And I know they won't be able to see my hand motions and everything as they're listening, but I'm creating this just image of like contracting in or expressing out. And I believe the more that we open our heart and trust others to be vulnerable, we'll be better for it.
Well, that is a perfect segue for me to ask, where can people find you? I know your books are filled up because I was like, okay, let me see how I can get into her before September to get my hair braided. I can let it grow
Yes,
again.
I can definitely. You're letting it grow out. I love
Yes.
it.
So,
Well,
yes.
Saniyyah Sahar is my name across all social media, and Saniyyah is Saniyyah Sahar Sahar. So that's Twitter, which I hardly do, but Instagram, the website SaniyyahSahar.com, Instagram, Saniyyah Sahar. They'll be able to hit the link tree and you can find everything Saniyyah Sahar there.
Hmm. Well, I am just so grateful that you said yes to this. I'm so grateful that you're my friend and that I know you. And more than that, I'm so grateful that I was really right about the fact that you have something to offer and that you now see it. And I am so
Yes, Monique. I'm so excited too. And so I just want to say I've witnessed your growth over the last 5 years as well, and am ecstatic at what you are doing. You're offering to people around the world. Your healing work is is just immeasurable. We're so grateful for the work that you do, Moon Mama. I love you.
I love you too. Thank you so much. We'll be together again. Peace and blessings.
We'll be together again. Peace and love. Mwah.
Bye bye. Thank you to our listeners for joining. If you would like to connect with me, you can do so at moniqueruffin.com. I am currently offering 2 courses. You can check out my course, Rebirthing the Authentic Self, Becoming Your God Image, on my website. You can also check me out at Monique Ruffin on Instagram. You can find me at Monique Ruffin on Facebook, and you can also find me at Monique Ruffin on YouTube. I'm so grateful. I trust that you enjoyed this episode of Forget Everything You Think You Know. Peace and blessings until our next episode. Bye-bye.
And I wish that you knew you sleep in the bed with both your shoes. We listen to jazz in the living room. The feeling we know but don't surrender to, trying to remember who am I.